The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. Yeah!
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this podcast, I'm going to talk to you about the robots and technology kind of dominating the pool industry and taking over, not to the point of like a Terminator type thing, but to a point where technology has advanced to a really good level where you can automate your entire pool and pretty much not have to lift a finger, so to speak, if you set it up correctly, and just let the robots do the work. Pool Service Pro. Open a Leslie's wholesale account today and receive wholesale pricing on products you use every day. Leslie's Pool Supply offers convenient locations that are open 7 days a week. Another great benefit of opening a Leslie's wholesale account is Leslie's referral program. Get referred to a customer looking for weekly pool service. Also receive priority service, enhanced rebate programs, a discount on your general liability insurance through Spa, a discount on your pool routing software through Skimmer, and an opportunity to co-brand with Leslie's on your social media, website, truck, and more. Save time and money and grow your pool service route and become a Leslie's Pro. This, of course, costs money, and there is a little bit of hands-on that you still have to do with your pool. But in all reality, you can actually set up your pool with a Rolochem or IntelliChem or a Chlorine Genie to some respects. It does need a little bit more hands-on than the other two, but of course you're filling up the chemical basins in those, the acid and chlorine basins. If you have a saltwater generator, it acts kind of like this, where it's chlorinating your pool with, again, very little maintenance. You may have an automated system with a variable speed pump that comes on by itself. And then you may have a robotic pool cleaner like the Polaris Alpha IQ or the Dolphin DX5i, and you can just leave it in the pool and run a weekly cycle. You have to empty out the basket still. They haven't really come out with that technology to do that. And you can have a solar surface cleaner. Of course, running that with the robotic pool cleaner hoses in there is not compatible. So there's a little bit of a glitch with that one. I would say that that scenario has not been perfected yet. However, you can see where I'm going with this, that you can actually automate your entire pool and not have to do really any maintenance, just emptying out baskets, maybe removing the solar cleaner or removing the robot when you're not using one or the other. But beyond that, you can pretty much automate everything. You can get a smart water monitor and it'll tell you the pH and chlorine in the pool, like the Sutro or the Water Guru or the Fluidra Blue Riot. All of these are great ways to maintain your chemistry and monitor it without really doing anything. So we're getting to the point where automating a pool completely is realistic. It's something that maybe wasn't as realistic as it is now 5 or 10 years ago. But right now with all the automation with your apps, and you can see how your pool's doing with your phone app through the Pentair and TeleTouch, all these things can be just seen on your phone without you even actually physically going to your pool. And we're moving towards this kind of automated, robotic dominated pool setup, which of course costs money. So it's not going to be something that happens overnight, but just be aware that this is coming. There's a lot of automation and a lot of smart water monitors and systems out there that can do a pretty good job of watching and maintaining the pool. I mean, the Pentair and TeleChem adds the chlorine and acids of the pool, keeps the pH in check, and keeps the chlorine level at a certain point. So we're definitely getting to that point where this is definitely possible. So although we're not at a fully autonomous pool, we're pretty close to where the technology is there that can really help you maintain your pool and eliminate a lot of factors from your pool care, which saves you time and effort. So I think, for instance, let's start with the smart water monitors. I'm a big fan of these. I didn't like them at first, mainly because they did ORP, and I'm not a big fan of ORP because then you have to kind of finagle with the pH in the pool to get a good ORP reading. It doesn't translate really well, not in the States at least, but in Europe, ORP is really popular. So the ones that do free chlorine, like the Sutro and the Water Guru, are the ones that I would definitely lean towards. As far as accuracy, the technology of these smart water monitors has really improved to the point where I find them to be extremely accurate. Now, what are some of the limitations of these smart water monitors? I did a podcast just on these devices themselves. The biggest limiting factor is the test factors that they can perform on their own, which is the free chlorine, the pH, and in some cases the alkalinity, like the Sutro. and the water temperature. So you don't get the full range of chemistry out there. You don't get the calcium hardness or the cyanuric acid or the combined chlorine. So these are all factors you have to test separately for, which is a little inconvenient. However, the main factors are taken care of. Let's say the water guru, for example, it does your free chlorine and pH, and it does the water temperature and flow. So then you don't have to really worry about testing for that. You just test for the alkalinity, calcium hardness every 3 months or every month, however often you test for that, and cyanuric acid every 3 months. And there you have it at that point. And as far as the sutro, you have your free chlorine, pH, and alkalinity. So then all you have to worry about is your calcium hardness and your cyanuric acid. So once they get a tester that does all the factors, that would completely eliminate the need to do testing of the factors it doesn't test for. And that would move these smart water monitors into the next level, which may be coming one day soon in the future, but it's not here yet. So you have to actually manually test with a separate test kit the other factors I mentioned. Plus, you probably want to double check the readings to make sure that the monitor is accurately giving you the readings in the pool, just to be sure nothing funky is going on at that point. Then you have, of course, the Rolochem, the IntelliChem, and I'm going to throw in the Chlorine Genie because I have one on my route now that I'm using, and I'm actually really enjoying how the Chlorine Genie works. It's really a well-made machine, not probably as high-tech as the IntelliChem, but it still works really well. And I guess you could say a saltwater system would fall into this category because it does add the chlorine to your pool. Where the Rolochem and the IntelliChem actually kind of top these things is they can add acid to the pool. But the Chlorine Genie with the pH drain can actually maintain the pH in the pool also. So it kind of falls into that category with the IntelliChem and the Rolochem systems. And these systems will add liquid chlorine and acid to the pool. The Chlorine Genie actually generates its own chlorine with the salt in the brine tank, so it's a little bit different. But these are all automated ways of adding chlorine to the pool, with the other ones adding acid to the pool to lower the pH. The saltwater system actually is the opposite. It'll raise the pH in your pool because of the sodium hydroxide byproduct, so a little bit of a drawback, but it's adding chlorine to the pool. So you got to take the good with the bad in that case. So with the Chlorine Genie, however, you have to actually do a test to see, where the chlorine and pH is at. So it's not quite automated. And then, of course, the saltwater generator doesn't know how much chlorine is generating for that pool. Whereas the Rolochem and the IntelliChem have technology built in to where they can measure the pH and the chlorine level for you. So those are truly automated ways of adding chlorine and acid to the pool to balance the water. So I would say this technology has definitely improved over the last 5 years. There's not a lot of glitches. If you have one of these, you know that there are certain part failures and gears and certain things that you have to do. Of course, you have to fill the tank up with chemicals and you have to dilute it properly. So there's other factors involved here. So it's not completely automated, but it does add the chlorine and acid to the pool and will actually track the pH and chlorine level of the pool, which is a nice feature to have on these devices. And so by automating this particular aspect of pool care, you're really saving yourself time and effort. And the least one would be the saltwater generator, to where it adds the chlorine to your pool. And I find that, this is a great way to save time and money, of course, because you're not buying chlorine at the store. For the IntelliChem and the Rolochem, you are buying chlorine and acid. But for the saltwater generator, it's actually taking the salt and converting it into chlorine in the pool and then going back into salt. And with the Chlorine Genie, the salt's in the brine tank. So these are ways to save time as far as adding chlorine to the pool. You realize also with these devices, you have very little algae in the pool because there's always a good chlorine level in the pool if set up correctly. So that's one aspect of technology. And I think eventually, with more and more users, the technology is going to expand, get better. And I'm not sure if it's going to get less expensive or not, but it's definitely something that if you have the resources and you want to automate the chemical dispensing in your pool, this is one way to do it effectively. And then, of course, you have the robotic pool cleaners, which I really love. I prefer these over the suction cleaners and the pressure side cleaners because of how well they clean the pool and the fact that you don't have to leave them in the pool all week long. In my case, I drop my robotic pool cleaner in my pool once a week, and then the customers on my pool route, I'll drop it in when I'm there on the service day, and they may put it in later in the week if they need to, but it's a great way to clean the pool really effectively. I use the Polaris Alpha IQ in my pool, which I think is the smartest robotic pool cleaner on the market. It kind of maps your pool, and then it'll set the cleaning pattern and time for your particular pool. For instance, my pool, it cleans in 1 hour and 52 minutes. So whenever I put it in my pool, I plug it in, I drop it in there, and it knows my pool already, and it leaves it spotless every time I use it. I like the fact there's no hoses in the pool during the week. Now, I can leave it in there. I mentioned at the beginning, you can leave the cleaner in there and have a weekly cleaning cycle, and it'll clean the pool, but I just don't like leaving it in the pool for many reasons. Number one, I don't really need to have it cleaned every day. And number two, I just don't really want to have a weekly cleaning scheduled, although you can set it to clean your pool every day or every other day or every 3 days. But you have to leave the cleaner in the pool for that to actually work. For me, one of the biggest selling points of a robotic pool cleaner is you can take it out of the pool and there's no hoses or cords in there. So that's why I don't really like leaving it in there, nor do I recommend leaving it in there to my customers, because that's why they got a cleaner. Take it out when you're not using it, drop it in before a pool party, and you're all set. And you'll see that if you have a robotic pool cleaner on your pool or on your route, how well it cleans the pool over a suction and pressure cleaner. And you'll probably never go back to either of those two cleaner types because robotic pool cleaners are so well made nowadays. The first generations were really bad. The later generations now, they have a lot of good technology. The motors are sealed really well. The parts are made extremely well. They're durable. They're effective. And so you're buying a high quality product now when you purchase a robotic pool cleaner from Polaris, from Dolphin, from BWT, from anywhere where they make cleaners as a part of their business. You're going to get a good high quality product now. I think I've personally tested over 50 or maybe 55 robotic pool cleaners, so I know the ins and outs of them. I know which features are something that you want to have in your pool, which ones work best in certain pool types. If you want to email me, I can give you a recommendation for a robotic pool cleaner based on your pool type and size. Send me a picture of your pool. I can definitely point you in the right direction. I have my preferences, of course, and of course I'll work within your budget. But you can email me at david@swimmingpoollearning.com. Again, that's david@swimmingpoollearning.com, and I can give you my recommendation on the robotic pool cleaner for your pool, because you do kind of have to choose the right one to really get it to make it effective. You can't just buy any robotic pool cleaner, I don't think. You have to kind of match it to your pool. If you go to a local pool store, sometimes the salesperson is good enough to match you with the right robotic pool cleaner. I guess basically the more money you spend, the better the cleaner is going to be, and that kind of translates into any kind of product you buy. So the high-end cleaners, of course, are going to do a lot better than the low-end robotic pool cleaners. But bottom line, you're going to really enjoy having a robotic pool cleaner because you take it out, you put it in when you need it, and it does do a really effective job of cleaning your pool entirely. And in my case with the Alpha IQ Plus, it maps my pool, so it does an exceptional job cleaning my pool. I also mentioned the solar surface cleaners, and these are really something that has come on the market, I guess in the last 8 or 9 years. Solar Breeze was the first one to really hit the market. Then Skim Devil came out, but they kind of faded away. They didn't really follow up with their R&D and their technology. They probably had the best solar surface cleaner on the market, in my opinion. It had a huge debris opening. It worked highly effectively. However, there were some software issues, and the company just never caught on, and I don't think they're producing the cleaners anymore. They're probably not. They may just be doing a few of them every year. So you have Solar Breeze, which changed to Ariel, which I don't really like the color scheme, but the cleaner actually works really well. They've taken technology from the Skimbot, which they acquired, and the Ariel is not a bad solar cleaner. I actually think the Solar Breeze was better than the Ariel, but the Ariel is all we got now because they stopped making the Solar Breeze. And then you have the Beta 2, which is probably their direct competitor now. I don't believe there's much more out there between the Ariel and the Beta 2 at this point. There was a lot of them that came out and faded away. It's really a hard technology to develop and to utilize. You have a lot of moving parts. You have the solar aspect. You have the seal aspect because it's in the pool and you don't want to get the motor or any components wet. So there's a lot that goes into this. I actually have taken a Solar Breeze apart, or a couple of them apart, and there's just a ton of parts at least in the Solar Breeze, there were a ton of parts in there and a lot of things going on in there. Plus you had the battery, you had the panels. But the new version, the Ariel, seems to be really well made. I mean, there's not much else out there besides the aerial now. You have the Skimbot that's still out there. It's also owned by the same company that made the Solar Breeze. And then you have the Beta 2, which I think is a great solar surface cleaner and is on par with the aerial. It has really good technology. So far, it's pretty simple technology, in fact, so it's not going to have a lot of malfunctions with the software, things like that. And they really made the new version a lot better than the previous versions. So a solar surface cleaner is a great way to give your pool that glass-like look on there. There are some drawbacks. I mentioned the fact if you had a robotic pool cleaner, you have to take one or the other out of the pool because it will kind of suck the cord in to the front of it. It's not really made to be working in the pool, robotic pool cleaner. I suppose you can add small weights to the floating cable and drop it down a little bit, maybe an inch down the surface, and that'll be fine. Sometimes you can do that with the suction cleaner and kind of drop those suction hoses down. But they work best when there's no cleaner in the pool. And so when you're not using the robotic pool cleaner, you would put the solar surface cleaner in the pool, and that would clean the surface of the pool and prevent a lot of debris from falling down in the pool. You may ask, well, I have a skimmer for that. I don't need no solar surface cleaner. But if you use one of these in your pool, you're going to see how much better it cleans the pool and how well it keeps the surface looking kind of glass-like. It just moves around the pool constantly like if you were skimming with a fine mesh leaf rake all day long. So kind of picture that in your head. And if a leaf falls in, it'll pick it up pretty quickly compared to the skimmer. And when the pool's not running, it's going to be running with the sun powering it and the solar panels. The drawback with the surface solar cleaner, again, are the hoses that kind of impede it. And the other drawback is that a lot of skimmers will suck it into the skimmer. So be aware of that. If you're going to run one of these, you may want to run your pool pump at different times. So maybe have your pump running in the morning and then run it again in the late evening. Or you may want to get something for the front of the skimmer, even just tying a simple floater in front of the skimmer and something like that to keep the solar skimmer from being sucked in there. You can raise the water level up a little bit to give it more of an ability to get out of the skimmer. But unfortunately, that's a drawback with both the aerial and the Beta 2. If you have a skimmer where you have pretty good suction, chances are it'll suck the cleaner in there and it won't be able to reverse out of there. And this is something that happened to the Solar Breeze a lot. There was a couple things the Solar Breeze actually tried, and somewhat successfully. You could add rocks to, there was like a tablet holder, you could add rocks to it to lower it down, and that sometimes helped that. But a lot of times that just kind of helped for those pools with overhanging coping. I believe if maybe they had some more power that can reverse it out of there, that would probably be a good feature to add to these solar surface skimmers. Maybe like a boost of power to back it out. But the skimmer is pretty powerful to suck it in there, so be aware of that as kind of a drawback with these solar skimmers. There are workarounds, and I mentioned that when I did the podcast on these. But the easiest workaround is to tie a floater in front of the skimmer, and that way it'll bounce off of it. But you can simply run your pool at a lower RPM or run it in an off time when the solar surface cleaner is not operating in the pool. So the robots are not taking over the world because you still need to empty out the basket on the solar skimmers. You still need to empty out the baskets on the robotic pool cleaners. You have to fill the chemical basins with the Rolochem and the IntelliChem. You have to maintain the chlorine genie to make sure there's salt in the brine tank. You have to clean your saltwater generator to make sure there's no buildup on the salt cell. And you have to adjust the output. So nothing is truly completely automated. With these smart water monitors, you still have to check your other factors are not tested by it. But we're really heading in that direction where all these automated ideas and systems are coming together to where you can really eliminate a lot of effort in your pool care. I think for me, I have a saltwater generator, I have a robotic pool cleaner, and these are all things that are going to help save me time out there. I don't have to actually clean my pool. Not sure when the last time I actually had to manually vacuum my pool. I mean, barring a dust storm or when I'm testing something, I'll of course vacuum it. But I have robotic pool cleaners out on my pool route, and I'll either drop it in on my service day when I'm there. Usually the customer runs it during the week, and so when I get there, there's really nothing to do but maybe spot vacuum or skim a couple of things out of the bottom. And if I need to, I'll drop the robotic pool cleaner in the pool. It'll vacuum the pool for me. So all of this technology is a great way to save time with your own pool or the pools on your service route. And we're heading towards a really technologically advanced automated kind of pool setup, something that we haven't seen in the past before. All this is fairly new. I mean, within the last 10 years, all of this has come out on the market to a point where most consumers can actually purchase these things like a saltwater generator, the Rollicam, the IntelliCam. Robotic pool cleaners have gotten much better. You have these solar-powered surface cleaners, and of course you have these smart water monitors now. So all of this is really moving us towards a kind of hands-off pool care experience for the consumer. I mean, just the basic automated system, automated panel. You can put your pool into spa mode without doing anything but pushing a button. You can turn your heater on. All of this has to be maintained, of course. But with the automated systems, you can do all of this with a push of a button. You can change your pump speed. All of this without even going into the equipment pad area. And this is one of the next evolutions, of course, of the automated systems, the IntelliCam, the Chlorine Genie, and the robotic pool cleaners that are connected to an app, and you can actually start it while you're coming home. If, let's say, you want to use the pool and you have the cleaner in the pool, you can actually turn on the Polaris Alpha IQ, when you're hundreds of miles away, and have the pool clean for you. And you can have the pool put in spa mode by a push of a button when you're 200 miles away. Turn the heater on and turn the pool and spa light on. So when you get home, you'd have your spa ready to go. And this is the, not the pinnacle, I don't think, of the automated part of pools, but I think it's something that we're heading towards where the automation is going to be just part of the natural way that we care for our pools and monitor the chemistry in the pools. And we'll get to the next level and the next level after that. And so technology is here. You can't avoid it. And it's one of those things that makes pool care much easier for the consumer as well as for the pool professional. If you have pools with smart monitors, you're going to be able to get in there and check your customer's chemistry on them. So technology is really an aid in the industry, and it's really helped move us along to a level where, if you're tech savvy, you can really have a pretty much automated, not completely autonomous pool, but definitely automated to the point where it makes life easier. If you're looking for other podcasts that I recorded, go to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com, and you can find those there on the banner. Click on the podcast icon. That'll take you to a drop-down menu. And if you're in the industry and you're interested in my coaching program, you can learn more about that at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week. God bless. Pool Service Pro. Open a Leslie's wholesale account today and receive wholesale pricing on products you use every day. Leslie's Pool Supply offers convenient locations that are open 7 days a week. Another great benefit of opening a Leslie's wholesale account is Leslie's referral program. Get referred to a customer looking for weekly pool service. Save time and money and grow your pool service route and become a Leslie's Pro.